Hi, good evening, guys. It's me, Jain again. Last time I had made a video about, my knowledge and understanding about Jainism. So today this will be the part two of that. So actually, last time I had mentioned about the difference between the Digambas and the Shvetambas, and also I'd explained to you about this Jain Triloka. So, however, today this is going to be my knowledge and understanding about Jainism part 2. So, in this part 2, we are going to talk about the seven principles of Jainism and their explanations. So, the seven principles, which also means if you want to say in the Prakrit language, the seven Mahavrathas of Jainism. So, let's begin. The first one is Ahimsa. Ahimsa means to practice the policy of complete non violence to the best of our abilities in every aspect of life. Ahimsa means, that we should try to avoid as much harm as possible. We should try to be more peaceful. We should avoid fights. We should avoid unnecessary conflicts. And we should normally try to do peaceful negotiations. And in Jainism, when we say ahimsa, we not only mean physical non-violence, we also mean emotional and verbal non-violence. For example, for a true Jain, we are not supposed to even verbally, like use slangs, use foul language, and insult someone. We should try to be as polite as possible and negotiate and talk out things very politely and professionally. And we should speak in a way where other people don't get insulted by our words. So, as a true Jain, we should practice ahimsa not only in our actions but even in our words and even in our thoughts. And according to Jainism, our thoughts matters the most. For example, we may be physically non-violent, but if we are verbally and emotionally very violent, it is still as good as being a very violent person, and that can cause that papa karma sin. So so this is the first point, ahimsa, practicing complete non-violence to the best of our abilities. And when we say to the best of our abilities, it means that it's not that we should avoid violence completely, because that is like that is nearly something very impossible to do, because while living in this world, whether we like it or not, whether we want it or not, small or big, violence keeps happening all the time in our lives. So, for example, we being Jains as Shravaks, we happen to walk, and when we walk, unlike the Jain saints, we don't carry that pinchi and try to just sweep away the insects that come in our way. So when we are walking, we may accidentally step on some insects, and even when we drive cars, we may accidentally kill many of the bugs or whatever on the road, on the streets. So these things, as a common Jain person, we cannot avoid it. And also, of course, even like as a common Jain person, we have to eat food, and for that sometimes we have to grow crops, we have to plow the land. So these are certain violences which we truly cannot avoid. So these things we have no option but to follow. But at least we should try to reduce the amount of violence caused by us in our daily lives, such as, so you should clearly understand that as Jains we should eat a pure vegetarian food. In fact, a vegan food would be better. As a Jain, it's better to eat vegan food and consume vegan meals compared to vegetarian and non-vegetarian. So this is practicing ahimsa to the best of our abilities. Coming to the next, it means Satya. The next principle of Jainism, the second one is Satya, which means to be truthful and honest in every situation of life. We should never lie to others or cheat others, especially for our personal gains. And we must absolutely refrain from doing any acts of corruption. So, speaking Satya, about Satya, which means truth, being truthful, we should avoid lying, we should avoid, you know, giving false information to others, unless, okay, like for example, in a certain life and death situation, where we are in a situation where we cannot tell the truth, and if we tell the truth, our life may be in danger, except in those times, in our daily lives, in our daily routines, we should be as truthful as possible. Satya. We should not lie to others, and especially while doing business and etc. While doing business, running your own companies and all, we can run good businesses without lying to others. We can do good business without being dishonest. So be truthful, don't cheat on others, and don't do acts of corruption. Okay, just I'll go to the next page. Yeah, and do not do acts of corruption. So this is Satya, and not lying to others. The next, third principle of Jainism is Astaya. Astaya means that we should not steal or even touch anything that does not belong to us. The principle of Astaya, it mainly means that we should not steal. We should not steal or even touch anything that does not belong to us. So we should know what actually belongs to us, what does not belong to us, and if we find something which is not ours, we should not touch that item or that thing. And if we know, for example, if a certain thing is lost, and we know, and let's say we happen to find it on our way, and we know to whom that thing belongs to, then in that case we can take that thing, and we should honestly return it to the person to whom it belongs to. But we should not use it for ourselves, because using things which do not belong to us is also one of the sins in Jainism. So that is the third point, Astaya. So the main thing is, in short, the key point of Astaya is do not steal. The fourth principle, or the fourth Mahavrata of Jainism, is Aparigraha. Aparigraha means to be completely and absolutely detached from all the worldly and materialistic things and pleasures. For example, we should try to limit the use of our daily resources in life. So like aparigraha means like basically to be detached from the materialistic world. So normally we'll have lot of wants, that okay, I want this, I want to I want to be rich, I want to have that, I want to have this. So we should we should refrain from having these feelings in us. We should whatever, even in terms of money, actually according to Jainism, if you want to really practice, honestly speaking, I don't do this, but then all those people who want to who want to practice hardcore Jainism, they should one of the most important things is aparigraha means even in terms of money, you should earn only how much is necessary for you. Anything extra what you earn, you should either give it for charity, or use it for feeding the animals or whatever. But the main point, the key word of aparigraha is to be detached from the materialistic world. Because the main point why Jainism is very strict about aparigraha is that if we want to attain moksha, first we should be detached from the materialistic world. The more attached we are to the materialistic world, the more difficult it is for us to enter into spirituality and to understand the nature of our soul, and finally even to reach moksha. So all those people and all those Jains who want to attain moksha, we should do as much of aparigraha as possible, which means we should try to renounce most of the worldly things, and just try to use a certain and limited amount of resources which is just good enough for our survival. But then of course I mean, like, honestly speaking, like, these days, it is the human nature to have, like, that to have this feeling of, that he wants everything in the world. But according to Jainism, if you really have the intention to attain moksha through salvation, you should follow aparigraha and try to detach yourself from the materialistic world. And when you say detached over here, it is not only from materialistic items and things, even from people. Like, for example, like, we say that, okay, he's my father, he's my brother, she is my mother, she is my sister. Even this family bondage and everything, this is just in relation to the materialistic and the worldly life. So for example, if you want to really understand Jainism, if you want to really enter into pure spirituality, you should even be detached from your family, you should be detached from all the all your relationships, and you should only spend most of your time in meditation, trying to understand the true nature of yourself, of your soul. So this is the meaning of aparigraha, to detach from the worldly and materialistic things. The fifth point is Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means celibacy. It means that we should not indulge in any forms of sexual activities. Also, we must refrain from getting married and starting a family. The word Brahmacharya in Jainism mainly means that, like, we should not, get married, and we should not, like, indulge in sexual activities, and we should not, get married and, start a family, and, try to form this materialistic bondage and emotional bondage with other people. Brahmacharya means to totally have self control of ourselves, to have self control of our sexual desires, and to focus more on spirituality and on our soul. That is Brahmacharya, means celibacy. The main key word for Brahmacharya in Jainism is celibacy. Okay. Now coming to the sixth point, this is very important. Anekantavada. Anekantavada means to understand the concept of non-absolutism, which means, that is, everything in this universe is relatively true and nothing is actually absolute in life. Or in other words, there are truths such as convenient truth, relative truth, and partial truth, etc. But there's been no discovery of anything in this universe that is an absolute truth, because every truth that we discover becomes relativized at a point of time. For example, a person, let's say there are two people facing each other. One person says east is to his right and the west is to his left. The other person says the east is towards his right and the west is towards his left. Now, who is correct, who is wrong? So, in this case, let's say, for example, if both the people are facing each other, if both the people are facing towards each other, we cannot say that both of them are correct or both of them are wrong, because each one of them are correct in their own position. So therefore, when we say Anekantavada, it means to understand the concept of non-absolutism, that there is actually no such thing as absolute truth. Yes, there is truth, there are many truths in life, but every truth that we know, in some or the other case, it happens to become relativized. So for example, in India right now, it may be around 9:15 p.m. in the night. So in Singapore, it can be because Singapore is 2.5 hours ahead of India's time. So in Singapore, the timing may be 9:15, so 10:15, 11:15, 11:45, yeah. So in India, if it is, let's say a person who is staying in India says the truth is right now the time is 9:15, and a person who is living in Singapore will say that the time right now is 11:45 p.m. So can we say one is right and one is wrong? No, both of them are correct in their own way. So the person who is staying in India says it's 9:15 because it is 9:15 in India. But in Singapore the timing is different. Therefore both of them are right in their own places. And both of them should learn to respect each other's opinions. So this is the main concept of Anekantavada, which means that we should acknowledge the fact that nothing is absolutely true. There can be truths which are 80% true, there can be truths which are 90% true, but nothing in the world is 100% absolutely true. Because at some or the other point of time, these truths may not seem logical in every circumstances of life. Now the last and the seventh principle comes Sayadwada. Sayadwada means it is also more or less just like Anekantavada, but the thing is that in Sayadwada, it is the main concept of Sayadwada is to practice complete open-mindedness, which means we should acknowledge and embrace multiple points of views and not just stick to one point, and we should not just stick to our own point of view. The principle of Sayadvada in the Jaina philosophy teaches us to not only question and reason everything else and all the other religions, but it also tells us Jains to question and reason even the beliefs and concepts of Jainism itself. This is one of the very important principles and one of the very beautiful principles of Jainism. So, like for example, many of the other religions normally they will say that they will say, okay, their religion is right, others is wrong, and some religion will say that okay, some religion may say that ours is the most logical, we believe this, we have experienced this, therefore only ours is true, etc. But the thing in Jainism is that yes, Jainism has its own set of beliefs and principles, but however Jainism does not deny the fact that we should not question the beliefs of Jainism. Like for example, in other religions, most of the other religions, when we talk about any religion apart from their religion, they may normally tend to doubt the other religions, that like, is it true, is it really true, could it really be true, or could it be wrong also, like that. But when it comes to their own religion, they never doubt it. Normally they will say that that no, ours is absolutely true. But in Jainism this is not the case. In Jainism gives every right to its followers to even question and reason the principles and all the teachings of Jainism. So even Jainism actually means that for a Jain, if we feel that something in the Jain philosophy is not logical or not making sense, Jainism gives us the right not to believe it and not to not to accept it blindly. So according to Jainism, before we believe anything about the religion, and in fact rather we should not use the word belief, rather we should say before acknowledging the truth of Jainism, first we should understand how and why Jainism is logical in today's world. Only then we can believe in Jainism. Otherwise, if we don't believe in Jainism, Jainism is never against us for not believing in Jainism. Jainism gives everyone, including the Jains, all the liberty and all the rights to doubt and question even the teachings of Jainism. So even Jainism says that anything, even from the Jain Shastras, a Jain is expected to follow and abide by those principles which makes complete sense to him and not just blindly follow everything. So this is one of the most beautiful teachings in Jainism that I really admire, and I'm proud of this principle of Jainism. So now coming to the moving ahead with this principle of Sayadwada. This principle of Sayadwada in the Jain philosophy is what makes Jainism the greatest, or one of the greatest way of life on the planet. The best example of Sayadwada is open-mindedness. And this principle of open-mindedness was lately explained around 2600 years ago by the 24th Jain Tirthankara, who is Lord Vardhamana Mahavira, or in Hindi we can say Lord Vardhaman Mahavir. The example of Sayadwada given by Lord Mahavira is about, I'm sure all of you might have heard, the 6 blind men and the elephant. For this example, actually, like long time, during the time of Mahavira, when Mahavira was, on earth as a prince, and like before he attained moksha and became a god, when he was on earth as a prince, actually this was actually experimented by Lord Mahavira. He had bought one elephant, and he also invited 6 blind men to come and stand in front of the elephant. Those 6 blind men, they were completely blind, they couldn't see anything, and then the 6 blind men were asked to slowly move forward towards the elephant. The 6 blind men were slowly asked to move towards the elephant and touch the elephant, and then tell what each of them think or feel an elephant is. So these 6 blind men, because they were blind since the time they were born, or since a very long time, these 6 blind men had never seen an elephant, and they had no idea of what is an elephant, and what is the structure of an elephant, and how is an elephant. So basically those 6 blind men were asked to go and touch the elephant, and each one of them was supposed to give their own opinions about the elephant. So the first blind man touches the elephant's trunk and says, "An elephant is like a tree branch." The first blind man, he actually goes and touches the trunk of the elephant, which means the elephant's leg. The elephant's nose. He actually goes and touches the trunk of the elephant, which is the elephant's nose. And the elephant's trunk is very long, and it's very thick, and it has got very rough skin. So when he touched the elephant's trunk, actually that blind man said that, "Wow, this is like a tree branch." So basically he thought that the full elephant is just like a tree branch. The second blind man touches the elephant's tail and says an elephant is like a rope. The second blind man, he actually goes and touches the elephant, and he gets the tail of the elephant. And of course, when he held the tail of the elephant, he thought that a full elephant is just like a rope. The third blind man goes and touches the elephant's stomach. He goes and touches the stomach of the elephant and says the elephant is like a big rock. Of course, the elephant's body structure is very large and very rough and strong and very hard. So when the third blind man went and touched the stomach of the elephant, it was like huge and very thick and curvy and very rough skin. So the third blind man thought that the elephant is just like a rock, like a very big rock. The fourth blind man then goes and touches the elephant's ear and says, "The elephant is like a big hand fan." The fourth blind man, he actually goes and and somehow he raises up his hand, and he manages to get a touch of the elephant's ears, and he says that the elephant is like a big hand fan, because the elephant's ears are very large, and as it flaps, there is a lot of air caused by it. And basically, it makes complete sense that he happened to believe that the elephant's ear is like a big hand fan. So because he was blind, he thought that the complete elephant was just like a big hand fan. The fifth blind man goes and touches the elephant's tusk and says The elephant is like a dagger. A dagger is basically a war knife. The fifth blind man, he goes and touches the tusk of the elephant. So obviously, this elephant was a male elephant. It had got its, tusk. It has got its ivory. It has got its two teeth, which is like, out, long and very sharp. So when the fifth blind man, he only got to touch the tusk of the elephant, and when he touched the edge of the tusk, it was like very sharp and pointed. So the fifth blind man said that the fifth blind man thought that the elephant is completely like a dagger. A dagger is basically a war knife. Now, the basic difference between a dagger and a knife is that knife is normally the thing that we use at home to cut fruits and vegetables and other like other food and like other food items. When you say dagger, a dagger is a special knife. A dagger is like a very long and strong knife, which was used only during wars before in ancient times. Like whenever the kings used to go and fight in a war, the kings would carry a sword and also a small dagger. Dagger is a special knife that was used only in wars, and that would be a very strong and long knife. So the fifth blind man thought that the elephant is like a dagger because he only got to touch the tusk of the elephant. Finally, the sixth blind man goes and touches the elephant's leg and says the elephant is like a pillar. Of course, as we all know how the elephant looks, and we know how the elephant's legs are. So when this sixth blind man went and touched the elephant's leg, the elephant and he said that the elephant is like a pillar. Of course, the elephant's legs are very thick, round and long like cylinders, and also you can say like pillars. So because he was blind, when he touched the elephant, he got to touch the leg. So he thought that an elephant is just like a pillar. Now you see, therefore among all the six blind men, each one of them was right in their perspective, as each of them were standing and touching at the different parts of the elephant. So as we know, the first blind man, he touched the trunk of the elephant and said it's like a tree branch. The second blind man goes and touches the elephant's tail and says it's like a rope. The third blind man goes and touches the elephant's stomach and says that the elephant is like a big rock. The fourth one says the elephant is like a big hand fan when he got to touch the elephant's ears. The fifth blind man said that the elephant is like a dagger, and the sixth blind man finally said that the elephant is like a pillar because he got to touch the leg of the elephant. Now in this case, we notice that because each one of them got to touch different areas of the elephant, they described the elephant as how they were feeling. So can we say one of them was wrong, or can we say all of them were right? The answer is all of them were right in their own perspective. Of course, so later by this, Lord Mahavira explains to the people that it is very important to follow the principle of Sayadwada, because before we come to any conclusion, first we need to place ourselves in others' shoe. So in this case, for example, if let's say if each one of them had just started to like say no, I am right, then this quarrel will just go on, because all of them are blind. No one will know what the truth is. Each one will be arguing as per their perspective. So by this, what we understand is that here these people were blind. In real life, all of us may not be blind, but the thing is that we don't get to see each and every aspect of life from our vision. So our most important duty is to follow the concept of Sayadwada, which means that when we give our opinions, we have the right to give our opinions and point of views, but we should never jump to conclusions that only we are right and others are wrong. Which also means that, as per Jainism, we cannot say that, we cannot say that only our religion is true, all others are false, only ours is right and all others are wrong. We cannot say that. A true Jain will absolutely acknowledge the fact that every religion is true and perfect in its own way. Just like how these six blind men were right in their own perspective, because each one of them touched the different parts of the elephant. Similarly, every person in the world, every religion in the world, every way of life is right in their own way. And we have to accept this point. And this is one of the main reasons why today there is, less peace and more of war in the world. If all of us learn to put ourselves in others' shoes, if all of us try to understand the position of other people and listen to other people's opinion and try to understand other people's opinion, then we can vastly reduce the amount of war and violence in this world. Why do you think today a lot of religions are having clashes with each other, saying that no, I am right, you are wrong? Because each religion, each person, they happen to speak only as per only as per their point of view. They don't even consider other people's point of view. Therefore, conflicts begin, wars begin, fights start to happen, and lack of open-mindedness is the root cause for all violence and evil. So as per Jainism, it is the golden principle for every Jain and every person to follow the principle of Sayadwada, which means practicing complete open-mindedness. So, to say in short, the key word for Sayadwada is to practice. One second. The key word for Sayadwada is practicing complete open-mindedness. We should be completely open-minded and accept the fact that not only us, but everyone in the world are right and wrong in their own way. So there is no such thing as perfect. This is the message to the world that no one and nothing is perfect in this world, in this universe. Everything has its perspective, and out of the perspective we can decide what is right, what is wrong, who is correct, who is wrong. But being open-minded and embracing other people's opinions is very important. And this is not just a Jain principle. This is one of the most important principle which everyone should follow. That's why today, even if you go to multinational corporations, international companies and all, they all follow multiculturalism. We don't just respect only one culture or one tradition. We should learn to embrace all the traditions, all the cultures of the world, and we should respect all the cultures of the world. So this is the main message of Sayadwada. And if we follow Sayadwada, trust me, lot of violence can be reduced in this world. And in fact, not only Lord Mahavira, even before Lord Mahavira, all the other 23 Jain Tirthankars who have attained moksha, each one of them have actually explained the principle of Sayadwada in their own way, giving their own examples. But because those were extremely long time ago, therefore it is very difficult to find their teachings and their scriptures. But every Jain Tirthankar who has attained moksha has always taught us the principle of Sayadwada with their own examples. Okay, so this is the end of Mahavrathas. I hope all of you understood. And these three jewels of Jainism, Samyak Darshan, Samyak Jnana, Samyak Charitra, I've explained to you all last time itself. And today, if you want, we can discuss about another subheading of Jainism, that is, in general, what is Jainism? So I hope all of you have understood the 7 Mahavrathas of Jainism. Now coming to the facts about Jainism. Here are certain facts of Jainism. Jainism is an ancient Indian system that predates the Indus Valley civilization and the Vedic tradition, which means that Jainism is about living a very peaceful and a systematic way of life. Today, it is it is unfortunate that people consider Jainism to be a religion, but however, Jainism is actually a system. Jainism is about living a very peaceful and a systematic life. And another thing what we all should acknowledge is that the Jain tradition was known as the Shramanic tradition, and it was also known as Samnopasak. And there are 24 Tirthankars in Jainism. Tirthankars, you can consider them to be gods, because Jainism does not believe in one creator god as such, that there is one god, he created the universe, and then in the future he will even destroy the universe. Jainism does not believe in this, Jainism does not teach us about creationism. There is no concept of one creator god who has created this universe. Jainism says that every soul which realizes itself can become a god. So Jainism teaches that all living beings have souls, which is absolutely true, and every soul is capable of realizing itself and becoming a god or supreme soul. So Jainism says that once every soul realizes itself and attains moksha, that soul will become a supreme soul, or in other words, a god. So all of us can become god. There is no such thing that there is only one god. Every soul is a potential god, and those souls which have attained moksha, like these 24 Jain Tirthankars, those souls are gods or supreme souls. And Jainism, unlike other philosophies, was never created or invented by anyone. It is an eternal way of spiritual and divine life that was discovered by people in India countless centuries ago. Another thing is that most people think that that Jainism was started by Lord Mahavira. Jainism it was created by man, or Jainism is it's also another religion which was just made up by people in India. That's not true. Yes, Jainism was discovered by people, not created or invented by people. So now all of you, I'm sure you know the difference between discovery and invention. Discovery means something which was already there, but you find out about it before anyone else does. That is called discovery. Invention means to create something new by your own self. That is invention. So unlike other philosophies, Jainism was never created by a particular person or by anyone. Jainism is a way of life. Jainism is a philosophy that was only discovered by many ancient people in India countless centuries ago, very very long time. Unfortunately, in today's modern generation, most people in the world consider Jainism to be another religion. This is unfortunate, but then today, due to a lot of misunderstandings, due to a lot of misconceptions, Jainism has been considered as a religion. But at least Jainism is yet also acknowledged as the most peaceful religion on the planet by everyone in the world. Though today the world sees Jainism as a religion, the world acknowledges the fact that Jainism is in fact the most peaceful religion on the planet. Actually, the most peaceful way of life, but okay, they say it is the most peaceful religion on the planet. So now moving ahead, if you want to actually go to the core details of Jainism, it is in fact way too complex and tough for common people to understand. Even me, I'm just sharing my knowledge about Jainism. I'm not a scholar of Jainism, and nor I'm a very big expertise of Jainism. But one thing I know, Jainism promotes non-violence, and so far until now, the way I have understood Jainism, I'm very proud to be a Jain, and it is such a blessing to be born in a Jain family, to understand the level of non-violence we should follow, and even to follow the concept of Sayadwada, complete open-mindedness. That's why even Jainism, if you ask a Jain which is the best religion, a true Jain will never say that Jainism is the best religion. I repeat, a true Jain will never say that Jainism is the best religion. A true Jain will always say that non-violence is the highest religion. A true Jain will say non-violence is the highest religion and complete open-mindedness is the best policy, is the best principle of life. So this is what a true Jain will say. A Jain will never say that Jainism is the best. And even speaking about the basic rules of Jainism, the rules of Jainism are very strict and rigid to follow. In fact, honestly speaking, if you want to practice Jainism properly, it is in fact very difficult. That is why a lot of Jains, today, they don't follow Jainism properly. Honestly speaking, I too don't follow Jainism completely because I know it is very tough, and it is tough means I don't just mean tough like that. It is really tough. I have tried to follow certain things, but it is really it's only meant for the spiritual elites, not for everyone. So this is the main reason today the Jains are very less in numbers. So speaking about the Jain population, today there are totally around 10 million Jains or followers of Jainism in the world. Okay, the followers of Jainism are called Jains. Today, totally in the entire world, there are maximum around 10 million Jains in the entire world, and majority of them are residing in India. So most of the Jains in the world today, the majority of the Jains in the world actually reside in India, and after India, the second largest Jain population you can find in America, Belgium, and even countries like Tanzania, Kenya in Africa, you can find some Jains. But mainly India, America, and Belgium, you can find a lot of Jains. And another thing I want to let you all know is that actually there are plenty of Jains in the world who call themselves as Hindus, though they are actually Jains. So the actual population of Jains in the world actually is more than 10 million, but right now we have at least 10 million Jains have recognized themselves as Jains, because most of the Jains, because when we go to the outside world, many other countries, of course, like America and all, they know about Jainism, but then many countries they don't know they don't know what actually a Jain is. So many of the Jains, when they go to many other countries, they actually call themselves as Hindus, though they are Jains. So that's why so far we get to see that only there are 10 million Jains, but actually the truth is that there are people who are Jains who are more than 10 million in the world. And speaking about, even if you want to consider Jainism as a religion, Jainism is in fact the most scientific and the most non-theistic way of life or religion in the universe. Because see, when you say the word theistic, theistic means religious. Non-theistic means non-religious. Jainism is in fact, because the truth is Jainism is not a religion. Many people even understand that Jainism is not a theistic religion unlike many other religions. Like even if you take for example like Jainism, Hinduism, Buddhism, these are not religions, these are dharmas. And dharma does not mean religion. Dharma simply means trying to understand how reality works, trying to understand the nature of reality is called dharma. So Jainism is the most scientific and the most non-theistic, the most non-religious religion in the world. So by this you can understand whether Jainism is actually a religion or not. Jainism is not a religion because the people know it is a non-theistic religion. So in Jainism, we are also taught about karma, which means what we do. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If we do good, we'll receive good results in this birth and in our next birth. If we do bad, we'll receive bad results in this birth and even in our next birth. But this also means that like unlike in other religions, we cannot just simply pray and ask God everything. Okay, please God give me this, God give me that. In Jainism, we need to work and earn whatever we need and want in our lives. And another important information about Jainism is that in Jainism, a Jain should never go to temple to ask God for favors. But generally, no Jains pray to God for asking some favors in return. Yeah, I mean, of course, these days, many Jains, when they pray, they do ask for certain favors. And honestly speaking, I also do that many times. But actually, if you if you want to understand the core beliefs of Jainism, as a Jain, we should not ask God anything in return. We should not, we should not go to temples to pray and ask favors to God. Rather, we should go to temple, pray to God for the upliftment of our inner self, of our soul. So when we pray to God, we should rather ask for we should ask God to enlighten us. We should ask God to help us understand the true nature of our soul, so that we can also attain moksha. This is what normally every Jain is supposed to ask for when he or she prays to God, or goes to temples. And Jainism teaches that whatever it is, we should learn to accept the truth. Living in reality is important, whether the reality is comfortable or not. So just because something is nice does not necessarily mean that it is true. This fact Jainism teaches us that. So the reality is that there is no one supreme God who is sitting on an enormous throne up in heaven, who will help us and reward us each time we worship him. According to Jainism, there is no God, there is no one supreme God who is sitting there on a throne in heaven, and who will punish us if we do bad, and who will reward us if we do good. According to Jainism, if we do good, our own good karma builds up and it will give us positive results. And if we do bad, the negative karma, the bad karma builds up and we'll have to bear the fruits of it. Similarly, speaking about some spiritual details of Jainism, actually Jainism tells us to be detached from the material world. Remember, just now, just like a few minutes back, I spoke to you about the seven Mahavrathas, the seven Mahavrathas of Jainism, in which I mentioned about aparigraha, means aparigraha, to detach yourself from the materialistic world. Because as long as we are attached to the physical world, we are bound by emotions and we cannot search for the ultimate truth. Actually, even that that there is absolute truth, ultimate truth in self, the ultimate truth of ourselves. Of course, there is concept of anekantavada, which means there is no absolute truth. But here when we say ultimate truth, it means to understand who we really are and ultimate purpose of our life. Therefore, Jainism reminds us to first know who we are. Because most of us, most of the time, normally we are busy, thinking about, okay, we have to keep ourselves healthy, we have to eat good food to keep our body healthy, we have to understand what is going on in the world. Yes, all these things are important and we should do. But Jainism says that we should also take time to meditate, to sit properly and do meditation and try to go into ourself, into our soul, so that we know who we truly are. We are the soul and we are not the body. So if we want to attain moksha, we should focus more on our inner self and try to be detached from the physical world. This is one of the core message which Jainism gives to the world and its followers. So moving here regarding this two sects in Jainism, which are Digambar and Shwetambar, the differences last time I've already told in that Jainism, in my video of Jainism, that is part 1. This is part 2. So those people who want to listen to the difference between Digambars and Shvetambars, please watch my previous video. That is, my knowledge and understanding about Jainism, part 1, because this is part 2. So in this video, I won't be discussing about these differences. So far for today, this will be the end of this video, and I shall end this video by citing the most powerful mantras of Jainism, that is the Navkar mantras. Okay, so I'll just chant them. Namo Arahantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayiryanam, Namo Uvajjayanam, Namo Loye Savasahunam, Eso Pancha Namokaro, Savapava Panasano, Mangalananta Sauvesim, Padamama Havai Mangalam. Om Namo Arahantanam. I bow to the Arahantas, perfect souls, God-men. Om Namo Siddhanam. I bow to the liberated bodiless souls in moksha. Om Namo Ayiryanam. I bow to the teachers, head of congregations. Om Namo Uvajjayanam. I bow to the teachers, ascetic teachers. Namo Loye Savasahunam. I bow to all the ascetic aspirants. Ascetic aspirants means the sadhus and the sadhvis. So the Jain Namokar Mahamantra is to offer salutations to these 5 Panchaparameshtis: the Arahanta, the Siddha, the Acharya, the Upadhyaya, and the Sarva Sadhu and Sadhvi. So one more time I'll say, and then I'll be ending the video for today. Namo Arahantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayiryanam, Namo Vajjayanam, Namo Loye Savasahunam, Eso Panchanamokaro, Savapavapanasano, Mangalanant Savesim, Padamama Havai Mangalam. Okay guys, thank you very much. Good night. See you again. See you soon. Bye. Jai Siddhatma.